time now for the World Brief and a review of some of the headlines from today's newspapers around the world. But first, let me tell you what's happening around the world. Let's begin in the Middle East, where Israel has expressed deep regret after striking the last church in Gaza in an attack which killed at least 3 people and injured at least 10 others. Now, the Latin Patriarchate of Jerusalem, which has jurisdiction for Latin Rite Catholics in Gaza, said the Holy Family Church was struck by Israel on Thursday morning. The church has become a shelter for Gaza's tiny Christian community amid this 20-month war. It's the second time the church has come under attack during Israel's war in Gaza. Now, in December 2023, an Israeli military sniper shot and killed 2 women who were sheltering inside. Now, referring to Thursday's incident, Pope Leo XIV has expressed deep sadness, renewing his call for a ceasefire. And during a phone call with US President Donald Trump, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told Trump the attack was a mistake and said Israel was investigating how stray ammunition hit the church. To the African continent now, and there's widespread outrage in Eswatini as the US has deported 5 people who it described as criminal illegal aliens to the southern African kingdom. The 5 deportees are from Vietnam, Jamaica, Laos, Cuba and Yemen, and they've been convicted for crimes ranging from child rape to murder. Now, the Eswatini government declined to say whether any payments were made as part of the arrangement, but we do know that the US is the 4th largest market for Eswatini's biggest export, which is sugar. Now, the southern African country has reassured its citizens that the deported inmates pose no threat to the country. Despite this, the deportees' home countries have actually refused to accept them, which also prompted concerns that these third-party deportations could be in violation of the Geneva Convention. That's as 8 US deportees were sent to South Sudan earlier this month, which is, of course, embroiled in a civil war. It was also known earlier this month that Nigeria's foreign ministry disclosed that it refused to accept migrants from Venezuela, which the US had pressured Nigeria to accept amid an abrupt tightening of visa restrictions for Nigerian citizens who wish to travel to the United States. And finally, the Grand National Theatre of Senegal has reversed a ban on the wearing of hair weaves, wigs, and the practice of skin bleaching among its staff 1 day after that ban came into effect. Now, the internal memo signed by the director, Sering Fall Gay, on the 14th of July cited the institution's commitment to upholding and promoting Pan-African values, but a widespread public backlash from feminist groups and civil society leaders accused the director of policing women's bodies, which they say highlights broader concerns about gender inequality in Senegal, especially given the low number of women in President Bassirou Diomaye Faye's administration. It has just 4 women out of 25. And also, they mentioned the removal of the Ministry of Women. Those are your stories. Love to hear your thoughts before we move on to papers.
Diomaye Faye is not busy enough. It's now, what's he banning now? Women's aesthetics, you know, wigs and the likes and all of that. Does he know the industry that comes with wigs? I think what he should do is he should get a research body to research how much the sale of that wigs adds to the Senegalese economy. We know that it has a fair amount to Nigeria's economy. It's a multi-million-dollar industry. And probably see to how you can even produce some of them locally to bring foreign exchange or to bring exchange of trade within. Don't ban what you don't understand. I have a problem with bleaching and the use of hydroquinone, the cancerous effect on skin, which has been proven medically. But even with that, what you can do is sensitization. So this outright using of government fiat, I mean, it just shows why people say Africa is very shallow and backward. We're grappling with poverty. Vimba and I were talking off the air about how these streaming companies are not even making anything from Africa because there's massive poverty and somebody's thinking of a ban. As regards Israel, really?
A mistake, they say.
You say it's a mistake? The 57,000 people killed in Gaza is also a mistake. The people that are being killed every day is a mistake, right? The hospitals that are being bombed is also a mistake under the pretext of we're looking for Hamas members there. Everything, in fact, the war is a mistake. Everything Israel has done, they didn't do it. It's not the IDF that killed people. It's not them. It's not Israel. Israel is a very, Netanyahu is a saint as far as I'm concerned. He has not done anything wrong. Did Netanyahu kill any Palestinian? Never. No Palestinian blood should be on Netanyahu. He didn't kill anybody. Even the people that are being killed in the West Bank, it's a mistake. It's a mistake. It pretty much reminds me of when Fela's shrine was raided. And we first heard the word unknown soldier. That's what Israel is trying to tell us. So who coordinated the attack? So if they said it was a mistake, who coordinated, who signed off on the attack? And you know that church is very symbolic because while all the bombing went on, Pope Francis of blessed memory was always calling congregants in that church every day till he died. So I'm sure they finally looked and said, let's decimate it. But what will Trump do? Carola Levitt was saying the other day that Trump is obviously not happy about it, so he spoke to Netanyahu. Then they will come out to publicly apologize and they'll move on. No sanctions, nothing against Israel. Anyway, Trump supports him. And Trump will not really even have his time now because he's still dealing with the Epstein file and dealing with the new Wall Street Journal report that says that he wrote a bawdy comment and he drew in the picture of a woman. Anyway, he said he's going to sue Wall Street Journal report Murdoch. We'll like to see how that pans out. But now he's instructed them to release some of the documents out of the Epstein file. Let's see how all of this pans out. But it's all a mistake. What Israel has been doing is all a mistake. Israel can never do wrong in some people's sights. See, I am not against Israel. I am not against Israel. But I am against man's inhumanity to man. I was a firm proponent speaking up against Hitler Germany, what they did to the Jewish people in Auschwitz. And if Israel does the same, I will speak against Israel as an entity as led by Benjamin Netanyahu, famously known as Bibi. It is fairness and justice in the world. Today is tilted towards the Palestinians. You know who this unfairness will come to the next minute? It could probably be you. Just imagine. It could happen to you. And we could have had this on the African continent because at some point they muted the idea of bringing the Jewish people on the African continent to around a place in Uganda. So let's be careful. Let's condemn evil anywhere in its entirety. And I do not support October 7 because those are the arguments they make to blackmail you. What about October? I condemn October 7 in its entirety. But if you say Hamas killed and captured people on October 7, less than 2,000 people. And most of those videos were debunked. You remember how the slaughter of baby videos were debunked to be fake videos that Israeli put up as propaganda. But 2,000 people, I condemn Hamas for that. But 57,000 going to 60,000 people? Is that like for like? Is that fair? And America sits there and prevails over them. Is that fair?
Question.
Right. Let's begin with, or maybe let me just continue where you left off, is that, you know, the thing with being trigger happy is that at some point you're going to hit a target that you didn't expect to hit. And in this instance, well, was it truly a mistake? Was it not a mistake? We'll never know. But what we do know is that there was obviously huge international pressure, especially from the White House, for him to show remorse for this. Now, the question is, when it comes to this international pressure and the impact that they're able to have, the power that it has on Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu to be able to show remorse, it also just reminds you of the fact that it's selective and it's unfortunate. It's heartbreaking to see that this has happened to a Catholic church, but a Catholic church is not any more important than anybody else's place of worship or a hospital or places that people are running to for safe haven, because this particular church was a safe haven for many people. This is where people had found a hiding place from the terror that's going on around them. So in saying that, some people might, that's why there is the argument that it wasn't a mistake, that he knew that there were people who were being harbored there, and that was the intention. But for me, I'm looking at the fact that, okay, so the international community does have the power to pressure Netanyahu to take a step back and to show remorse, but it's just not being used. And that's what's unfortunate here, is that, yes, there are issues in the Middle East. There are tensions in the Middle East. There are several wrongs that have been done from both sides, from all sides involved. However, isn't it just funny that the international community stands by by wrongs that they feel are permissible. And then when it touches a little bit too close to home, then it's, oh, no, this is wrong. We need you to apologize. So I think it's always important for us to go back to the drawing board and remember that we must stand on principle. We must stand on principle when it favors us and when it doesn't favor us. We must stand on principle. And that's that on that. Now to Eswatini, which has just been, quite, I think about 2 or 3 days now of just total, shall I call it, meltdowns happening specifically in the SADC region, that's a Southern African Development Community, because Eswatini is notorious for having porous borders. So the concern in all of the countries in the region, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Botswana, people are saying, wow, okay, this is 5 individuals, but if they're going to receive more individuals, what's the likelihood they will be able to contain them within their prisons and within their nation's borders? This poses a threat to the region, especially when you have such a hardened criminal. I mean, you have child rapists, you have murderers. These are convicts. It's, they're not people awaiting trial.
And their countries do not want
them
them
back. Countries don't want them because they're so hardened. Well, the Kingdom of Eswatini has said that they are working with the IOM, International Organization for Migration, to mediate their return back to their countries of origin. Let's see how that goes, because their countries of origin have said that they don't want them. But do we have that privilege, if I may say, as nations to reject our own citizens? There's another conversation to be had there about the process of stripping somebody of their citizenship. So possibly these people do need to go back to their countries of origin and go through the process of having their citizenship stripped. Very quickly, as I conclude, still on Eswatini. Now, a lot of people are saying that, when the aid cuts took effect through the executive order by Donald Trump, it took away a lot of the king's privileges. That's King Mswati III, who is one of the most opulent royal fathers that we have on the African continent. His watch collection is valued at almost $500 million. I mean, he's an extremely opulent man. So what happens in Eswatini is usually taxpayers' money is used to fund the king's lifestyle, and then aid funding is used to try and maintain social services. So some people are saying, well, he was desperate to make sure he can still get some sort of pittance from the United States. So he's ready to sell the safety and security of the whole region so that he can maintain his watch collection.
Really?
You look at that.
Despite the poverty of that nation?
Have you seen his watch collection? Oh,
Vimbai, with due respect,
yeah.
I would like to pay tribute to the Nigerian government today.
Absolutely.
And thank you, President Tinubu. Thank you, Oluwatoyin Ojo. Thank you, Minister Tuga, for standing tall for this country by not allowing the people America want to send into our borders and our country to come in. Thank you. We don't agree on many things, but on this one, I thank you, President Tinubu.
Okay.
I thank you, Minister. This is a big thank you.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to papers. As ever, we begin with the front page of This Day, and This Day does lead with President Tinubu immortalizing the late former President Muhammadu Buhari by renaming the University of Maiduguri after him. President Tinubu announced the renaming of the university at a special Federal Executive Council meeting held in honor of the late former president on Thursday. The university, which was established in 1975, will now be called Muhammadu Buhari University Maiduguri. The announcement of Muhammadu Buhari University Maiduguri and that special FEC meeting makes the front page of Leadership newspaper this morning, as the late former president's son, Yusuf, does give an emotional tribute as he gives his own vote of thanks. Yusuf is pictured on the front page of the Leadership newspaper alongside his siblings and, of course, President Tinubu and Vice President Shetima. The Punch leads with what it's calling a shocking surge as the federal government's electricity tariff subsidy jumps from 610 billion naira in 2023 to nearly 2 trillion naira in 2024. This represents a nearly 220% increase in yearly subsidy funding, despite the band-aid tariff hike of April 2024. Now, NERC, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, and analysts have observed that the subsidy figures rose following the floating of the naira by President President Tinubu back in June, as well as the removal of fuel subsidies leading to high inflation rates. Now, the Vanguard reports that detectives attached to Interpol, that's the International Police Department of the Nigeria Police Force, have commenced investigations into the importation of solar panels worth 3.3 billion naira, allegedly damaged by a typhoon by a Chinese company. Now, to this end, plans have been concluded for a high-powered team of detectives to travel to China to liaise with their Chinese counterparts in tracking down the two businessmen who perpetrated the act against unsuspected Nigerian businessmen. Now, The Guardian and the Daily Independent, they both report on the African Democratic Congress calling for a comprehensive audit of Nigeria's refineries ahead of any planned sale. The ADC has questioned if President Tinubu's administration misled Nigerians after spending $2.8 billion on refineries that it later declared non-functional. The New Telegraph leads with the OPS saying that $9.4 billion worth of aid from the United States that has been cancelled will disrupt key sectors in Nigeria. And the Daily Sun has the federal government saying that there is no new terror group in the country. This comes off the back of a warning by the Turkish government that members of a terrorist group known as the Fethullah Terrorist Organization, or FETO, operate in Nigeria as well as in other countries around the world. Now, the Turkish ambassador-designate to Nigeria, Mehmet Poroy, made these claims, and he also claimed that the group was using schools and health services as a cover for its operations here in Nigeria. The federal government says that this is simply not true. To the United Kingdom now, and we have the Mirror and the Daily Express reporting on the mixed reactions to 16-year-olds now being able to vote in the next general election. That's going to take place in 2029, and that means 1.5 million teenagers will get their say on who the next Prime Minister will be. Now, Reform's Nigel Farage said that this decision, which Keir Starmer thinks is a good thing, may well backfire against Labour. And finally, The Guardian UK has reported that Labour has again suspended Diane Abbott from the Labour Party for a second time. You remember that she was suspended for so-called racist comments. She then apologised and was reinstated right before the last election. And she's now been suspended a second time, but they have not given a reason for her suspension.
Same Diana, but
the same one.
Jeremy Corbyn's former...
His former lady, yes. You know,
I said, oh, yeah, the one that said the lady.
His former lady. She said it openly.
Okay, Jeremy Corbyn, I mean, it's just sad for the Labour Party and what is happening in the Labour Party as regards Diana. But I think at some point she even had to run as an independent or something, you know, and she just still nick it in. I'm going to go back to a couple of stories.
Yes.
This morning, and I think there was a story on the headlines about how some soldiers rejected bribe from terrorists, over 13 million. I think that's worth celebrating, and that's worth commendation this morning. Again, I'm also going to reiterate the talk about the need for accountability in the refineries. See, it's unheard of, and that's why you cannot tell me, and these are the arguments I'm going to be having with my friend and brother Tope Fashua when it comes to them. Yep. You cannot tell me we should have a bigger budget side when you've not solved the problem of corruption. The argument I made against subsidy removal was you cannot pull out subsidy, which I know, yes, and I've argued that has to go, but you cannot pull out subsidy when you have not dealt with the corruption that heralded those subsidy regime in the first place. You cannot. Because what makes the subsidy not tangible is the corruption regime. I mean, we all remember, let's dial our minds back to the Aikimokwene Committee reports. When people were still going to write claim for subsidies, how people brought in big tankers of nothing, and they said it was crude oil they brought in, and they claimed subsidies. We all remember what happened to the House Set-up investigation report, as led by Farouk Lawan. We all remember how that case ended. We've not forgotten all those things. So this, we are asking for a forensic report into what even happened into the and that was what I fought President Tinubu for. Apart from the argument of gradualism you've always made, subsidy removal, announcing subsidy gone without even investigating what transpired during the subsidy regime is like patting people at the back.
Okay.
Those are the things I fought President Tinubu for. Subsidy gone, okay, just gone like that, and we should forget what happened in the past.
Thank you.
And the fact that there was no gradualism to the argument. Because it's the gradualism that make you temper it and see how it affects the people. We need to go.
Absolutely. I'm always an advocate for gradualism, even though there's, it's one of those heated debates. But just looking at the front page of the Vanguard is a conversation we were having earlier here about internet penetration, teledensity. So Vanguard is reporting that Nigeria reaches 79.65% teledensity, 48.81% broadband penetration. Those are statistics from the NCC, which just goes to show you that, goodness me, we have quite a long way to go. On teledensity, I think that 79% number, I mean, let's be optimistic. Let's call it 80%. I think that's a fair number. I think that's a good amount of people who have access to telephones or who own telephones. And I think that's a good indicator. But on the broadband penetration, it means that less than half of the population currently have access to high-speed internet. So while we're here having conversations about AI, even having conversations just as basic as content creation and the amount of employment and opportunity the creative economy is creating for young people, it just goes to show you that these opportunities are only available just to less than half of Nigerians. And we have a young population as well. So we have a long way to go. I know the minister has been ambitious. I know that he's been trying to push that number up, I think, to 60% or so, even as high as 90%. But generally, it's not just a Nigerian problem. It's on the African continent as a whole. We're really struggling to get that broadband out there, get high-speed people access to high-speed internet and affordable internet, I think, is the other issue on the ground. So I found that to be an intriguing story. Thank you so much, Adefemi Akinsonya.